Welcome, everyone, to the Warren County Library System Virtual Hackathon. My name is Sandy Roberts. I'm the Makerspace Coordinator for the library. And this is our technology and business panel, our last panel of the day. And I can't say that it's the one I'm most excited about because that would be rude, but it is one that I am very excited about. We have with us today Edward Desantis from Cartervine, and you do well, I'm going to read the official tagline: work utilizing technology to entertain audiences large and small. And actually, your website makes me realize I have to update my website. Then we have Mandy with Verde Mantis, Mandy Hurd, I'm sorry. And she's a general manager of Verde Mantis, which is a 3D printing, 3D printer manufacturing company. Shouldn't say, yeah, I want to be clear about that. And they have one of the few 3D printers that I know of that's actually made here in the USA and made right in Pennsylvania. So that was certainly when I was trying to gear up and make PPE for the library. You folks helped us out tremendously because you dropped off a 3D printer at my house, which is, wow, that's customer service. And then we have Joshua Zimmerman with Brown Dog Gadgets. And they make these amazing electronics kits and educational kits for kids, and they've been doing tons of online, virtual, live streamed educational content, and always fun to watch. So those are the quick and dirty introductions, but I want to open it up to each of you to tell us a little bit more about what you do, why you do it, and how it's transforming our world, because these kinds of technology businesses are certainly at the forefront of our industry right now and of our economy. So, Edward, I'm going to go ahead and hand you the mic, I guess it were, and let you get us started.
Excellent. Thank you. Do you mind if I share my screen?
Please do.
So hi, I'm Ed Desantis. I wanted to thank Sandy for inviting me and thank the Warren County Library for doing this presentation. I think these kinds of presentations are huge, hugely important is actually what I meant to say there. And I think it's easy to forget how important libraries are. So I'm really excited to see this program happening, and I hope all of you watched the last presentation, the keynote from the Girls Who Hack presentation by a Sci Lab. That was incredible. If you didn't catch it, please try and find the replay. That was amazing. She's an amazing person. So what I do is I manage a company that produces visual materials for clients to share their message to their customers. And one thing that has remained consistent for me in my career, which is getting longer and longer every year, is that technology is the backbone of what I do. I'm a creative. I went to art and design school, but technology really is the thing that has run through my entire career. I don't know that I would have known that that was the case right off the bat. When I was a kid, this was what was a computer. The left side there, that is a tape deck. We did record our data onto cassettes. That's how it worked. And I had a professor in college say that majoring in computer graphics is like majoring in pencil. Now that's granted, he was a professor in an art school. He was the last of a breed of creatives that didn't use computers at all because, well, they weren't in our industry at all. But it made the point that computers are a tool, and it's trying to have an objective to use that tool, and that's kind of been the through line. This was my first experience in what you could do with that machine, and what excited me right off the bat was this. Believe it or not, this is what excited me about computer technology. You could take a screen like this and type this little phrase in, and then you would code, and then you would get the results instantaneously, and that just blew my mind. So you run that code and it says hello world, and if you got really nutty, you could make it repeat and that would repeat itself all the way down the screen. It took me a little while to find this example on YouTube, because obviously this isn't something I could go back and recreate on my own machine. But please hold on to your hats. Here it comes. Here's the big payoff. You could type in "Hello World" and go to run. All right, it's a little longer than I anticipated, but you'll get the. It's worth waiting for. Here it is. Oh my goodness! Wait for it. Anticipation. Pow. Look at that. Look at what that had. Look at what happened there. Unbelievable. So I was just blown away. I don't know why, but I was hooked. If you went to the mall, you could go to the department store, the J.C. Penney, and they had Commodore computers set up, and you could do that in the mall. My parents would know where to find me. I was always at the computers. Um, I did, however, decide that art was going to be my career. I went to design school, and everything in design school was traditional techniques. There were no computers in my school. The year I left is the year that they got the computer lab for the design team. Um, so what what this did was give me the language and the techniques to be a visual communicator. And eventually, what happened was I got my first job, and I combined the two. At that point, the company I got hired by was named Conair, and they made hair dryers. And they were on the forefront of putting together a technology based design team. And this was something I built in Photoshop. I was very, very proud of it. And it was cutting edge at the time. Cutting edge, I tell you, cutting edge. And it combined my two loves, my love of design and my love of technology. It was the first opportunity for such a thing. Right after that, I went to being a freelancer. After school, I was a freelancer, and what that did was I was fortunate to be in New York City, and to be a freelancer in New York City means you're going to work for a lot of different companies in a lot of different capacities. And I was exposed to motion video, which is technology based. I was exposed to um, coding. The internet was a big new thing that was coming, so we were building graphics for ad campaigns. So they had to be I had to be web savvy to some extent in order to deliver the right material to the right client at the right time. Um, so I'm starting to build on the number of technology based tools to, again, just continue to deliver um, the message of the customer, the message of the client to their customers in new ways. I just keep getting lucky in that technology keeps advancing, and I keep sticking with it. Then I found a new field called corporate presentations and corporate events. And so what this is a ballroom, and those are all screens that I would be responsible for delivering content to those screens. And this takes into account everything. There's programming involved, there's art and design involved, there's 3D design involved, there's presentation techniques involved. So I just keep building on the technology base. Um, and it was something I stumbled into. Somebody I was in school with, I saw him on the subway, and he said, "Hey, I work for this company, and we do this weird thing called corporate events." It's a very small community of people that do this on this scale, and I'm privileged and honored to be among them. But technology, again, runs in the backbone all the way through. And this brings me to this year. This year has been the big pivot, and I've taken all of everything that I've learned in the last 30 years of being a designer in a technologically based world. And we're now in a place where instead of these giant screens, we're back down to one simple square, one simple rectangle trying to deliver a message. And I took the opportunity very early to get very in-depth knowledge about this new technology that we're all now starting to use. So this is a program called vMix, and vMix is a computer program that takes multiple presenters. It's basically Zoom on steroids or Team on steroids. It allows for a lot of overlays. It allows for three-dimensional sets. It allows for all sorts of beautiful design elements. And the key for me to being back at work, since my primary source of income is corporate events, and nobody's having corporate events. They don't. That's not a thing. You're not going to bring 5,000 sales reps to a ballroom and have them engage with each other. That's just not happening right now. So the key for me has been to be staying ahead with the technology. That's been again the key for me to being in being able to feed my family, has been to stay ahead of the technology. So I can't overemphasize that enough. And being ahead of the curve, it makes me in demand. And I lead a group of my peers through these new technologies on a weekly basis. We have a web Zoom chat, and it's just all about keeping ahead of the technology. So you don't. Creativity is evident in technology, and just to close out, I know it's a grainy little GIF here, but to me, this sums it all up for me. The computer is incredibly fast, accurate, and stupid. Man is unbelievably slow, inaccurate, and brilliant. The marriage of the two is a force beyond calculation. It's a great time to be involved in technology. There's free education services, the rise of the nerd in the social standings, and simply Minecraft and all that means. It's a beautiful place to be, and I highly recommend being technologically savvy and keeping on top of it as an end goal for people in their careers at this point. So uh, I think that's it for me. I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over.
I absolutely love that quote. Like I absolutely love that quote because I teach coding a lot, and the first thing I'll tell kids is that you are very, very smart, and the computer is very, very dumb. So if you tell it to do something dumb, it's going to. So you have to rely on you being a very smart cookie to make sure that that computer is going to do what you want it to do, and that technology is going to do what you want it to do. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Edward. That was excellent. And I obviously I come from a technology background. I was a biochemist, and I always somehow thought in my head that my kids would kind of follow in my husband's and my techie tracks. Didn't happen. I've got a artist on my hand who's putting together a portfolio for college, and um, it does
There's
reassure
hope.
me. Yeah,
There's hope.
no, but she actually is really interested in graphic arts, and she's looking at ways that technology can be used to kind of share her vision. So I really appreciate that talk, because I think we forget sometimes that it does take a lot of creative people to make technology, really work and to be useful and to be beautiful. All right, our next speaker is Mandy Hurd from Verde Mantis. I am going to give you the stage, as it were, and it's all yours.
All right, great. Thank you. So my name is Mandy. I am the general manager of Verde Mantis, and Verde Mantis is a 3D printer manufacturer. So if you see behind me, this is an example of our 3D printers that we manufacture here in Pennsylvania. We're about 45 minutes from Hackettstown. So we're pretty close, right over the bridge. And we've been in business we are entering into our second year. So we are a new company. And tell you a little bit about myself. Edward, I had a Commodore 64 as my first computer too. So it was it was nice to reminisce and see that image. But I was a teacher for 20 years. And I was one of the first teachers in cyber education. So, about, 20 well, probably, yeah, almost like 17 years ago, I decided I found this really cool school that was a cyber school, and I could work from home, and everyone thought I was crazy, because why would you ever not work in a brick and mortar school? So I was one of those early adopters for that program, led the way with STEM education. And then I met Joe Sinclair. Joe Sinclair is our founder and CEO, and this is the dream of his brainchild. I met Joe, talked to him for a little bit, and he had convinced me to come on board with his company, to really use my educator background, and my STEM education, and my interest in technology. But I had never used a 3D printer before. I never even saw a 3D printer before. So it was an exciting journey for me. And like I said, I've been here about 2 years now. The Mantis 3D printer is unique, because it is easy to use. And this is my analogy of how easy it is to use. If you can print this, you can print this with our 3D printer. It eliminates all the technical parts of 3D printing, and with a simple, if you have an STL file, which you can find for free on Thingiverse, there's millions of them. I can actually just, from my iPhone, that's a horrible glare there, but anyway, I just hit select file and press print, and the Mantis does the rest of the work. So we have automated the 3D printing process and made 3D printing accessible for anyone, at any level. So it's an awesome machine. Joe is an engineer by trade. He's a professional. He's been in engineering for about 10 years. But he was a 3D printing nerd in middle school and high school, all the way through college. And the reason that the Mantis 3D printer came to life was because Joe used 3D printers for his own, as a hobbyist, but also in his professional life. And he knew the pains of those 3D printers, whether they were on the desktop or $1 million machines. And just the cost of training people on how to use them is great. It takes a lot of time. But just to really get his friends and family to be able to use the 3D printers and bring that joy to them. So it was a passion of Joe's to do this. We are always iterating. We are always making improvements to our hardware and software to make it run better, quicker, and easier. But I have to say, I love my job. I get to print fun things every day and put them on social media to show our audiences what it's capable of doing. So even just a toothpick, this is a toothbrush holder, but you can put your toothbrush in there, clamp it shut, one piece print. So it does hinges, it does flexible prints. So here's like a little snake with a retractable tongue, so he can move, he's linked. So a lot of fun with what we manufacture. One fun thing about our printers, this fleet behind me is normally running constantly printing parts for our next fleet. So we are able to print some of our components that actually make our 3D printers. So that's something that's really cool about our machine. We've now done some upgrades to our printer to make it even better. We now have onboard cameras so that they can record your prints, and you can do time-lapse videos. And from that, the possibilities are endless with 3D printing. If you ever have any questions on what you can print, let me know. Like I said, we are located in Pennsylvania, about 45 minutes from the border. Actually, I could throw a stone and hit the bridge for Delaware Water Gap. But we're right on the bridge. We also have an office in Reading, Pennsylvania. We want to stay in the United States. We plan on staying in Pennsylvania. We hand assemble each of our printers. So it's a labor of love. We take the time to manufacture them, but then also quality check them and run test prints on them so that when they leave our office, we believe that they are the best product that they can be. Through COVID, last March, we were able to continue running our business because we were able to help with PPE and print face shields. And I think, for us, 3D printing has really become in the spotlight at this time because people are seeing that it is a useful piece of technology and what it can do. So we were able to do that. We've also obviously shifted gears back to manufacturing our printers. We sell them directly through our website, which is www.mantis3dprinter.com. They have this fun green color because Joe, his dream car is and I don't even know, some kind of Lamborghini. I'm not a sports car, but it's a green Lamborghini that's the color is Verde Mantis. So instead of him driving around in his dream car, Joe has invested all of his sweat equity and all of his hard work into this company and into building this printer for the masses. We love what we do. We are really excited about this technology, how truly easy it is. And I think as Joe is an engineer, he's always tinkering, always making improvements. One of the important things for us is to hear feedback from our customers and to be able to make adjustments, improvements to our product. Is great for us, especially as a new company, but also to offer our customers the support. Like Sandy said, when being local, we were able to, on our way home from work, drop it off on her porch. But our customers really appreciate that when they need something, they call our office and I pick up or someone picks up, and we're able to help them. Zoom has been great just to offer support to our customers. We can see what they're doing on their printers. So for us, this has been a great time. We love what we do. Are passionate about it. We're all kind of a group of, we have software programmers who are building our software. So huge technology, piece of our company is writing our own code, doing all of that full stack. We have a full stack developer here. So he's always making our graphical user interface cleaner, neater, easier, and making sure we don't have any bugs in it. And then we have a team of engineers who, again, do the CAD work to redesign any parts, to help, put together manufacture our printer, to run the printers. And just like the printers that print paper, they do sometimes misbehave, and we do have to, tinker with them and get them back up and running. But it's we have a great team, a nice diverse group of people, and like I said, we love what we do. We love our product, and we're super excited that I was able to come here today and talk about our printer and what we do.
Well, thank you so much. And I think it's really interesting, because you are manufacturing. So many people talk right now about, is manufacturing leaving the US and stuff like that. You are literally manufacturing your product on your product, which I think, I think we need to think outside the box about how we're approaching manufacturing and what we're manufacturing in this country. Because it seems like you're proving that there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of space still in that industry, if you just get really creative about it. So that is really cool.
Yep, you're exactly right. Yeah, thanks.
All right. And last but most certainly not least, we have Joshua Zimmerman from Brown Dog Gadgets. Sorry, I should be able to get that right. So I'm going to just go right ahead and hand the screen over to you.
Hey, everybody, I'm Josh. Happy Saturday out there. It's snowing here in wonderfully sunny Wisconsin, where we're located out of. So Brown Dog Gadgets, we do a wide range of things, and I apologize for going over quite a few things today because we do a really, really wide range of educational STEM and home use kits. COVID's been kind of interesting. We've really shifted from working mainly with schools to run events with them or in their facilities to sending out things in mass so that kids can do work at home or individual products for them to use in the classroom, since hands-on learning has become kind of a dirty word this year because of COVID. So I'm gonna go over some of the things we do and kind of get you an idea of kind of the activities we put out, the resources we create, and kind of the mission we're on. I'm a former middle school teacher. I taught middle school science. I've been a huge science nerd for years. And I left teaching to do this about 7 years ago. And we've been running this business here in Milwaukee for 7 years now. And lately been doing a lot of live streaming and a lot of new content creation because of the changing needs that there are out there. But our big mission is to make projects that are engaging, hands-on, and just student interest catching. The goal is to build confidence in kids by having them make something that's unique and interesting for them, not just build something to build something and take it apart again. I always use the analogy, how boring would it be if art class, you painted a fun painting or something and they're like, now we have to throw that away and use it for somebody else. You want to take it home. We should be doing that with science as well. So I'm gonna go over a few things on our little overhead camera here. It's working, yay. You don't usually run our live streaming software. So there's the mouse. So we do a lot of fun things like paper circuits activities, nice, inexpensive, hands-on, make and take arts and crafts science. It's kind of the way I pitch a lot of the stuff that we do. So we do paper circuit stuff, which is using conductive tape on paper to make light up activities, such as this time of year, doing lots of fun holiday themed things. So I just actually grabbed things off of our live streaming table. This is one of the activities we put out recently. It's a light up polar bear, because why not? We put a lot of holiday things out this time of year because that's what people are looking for, especially classroom teachers for activities. But using conductive tape on paper is really cost effective and really easy for anyone to do, because most kids are familiar with paper crafts and just doing, that scissors, tape, crayons. We've all been doing that for years by the time they're in 4th and 5th grade. So adding in conductive tape is just one new minor difference in elements for them to work with that they can then make something that's different and engaging, eye-catching, making a basic parallel circuit, or making a very simple circuit. We put a lot of cards out this year. So we have a whole stack of cards to the side here that we put together for this season. But we like to make things that are, just fun for the kids. And these are some pre-printed ones that we did for a live stream a while back, but having the kids decorate and make things. And on our website, by the way, we have just heaps and heaps and heaps of free resources, because as a former teacher, my big pet peeve is resources that are behind paywalls. So I like to make sure all of our resources are up on our website for people, teachers, parents, scout leaders to look at and evaluate to see if that's something they want to do, as well as different versions of things, like having these in black and white format so kids can spend time coloring and decorating them on their own, along with nice direction sets. But even these cards here are very, very simple, but it's a fun thing a kid can make, give to a family member, and is also just very inexpensive, but also from a teaching perspective, easy to implement as a teacher, because nothing's more difficult than a classroom of kids who's not getting things working for them. But paper circuits are fun. We also do some fun wearable stuff. Another one of our kits I had over here on the side of the table. So we do a couple different versions of wearable technology, which is all the rage with the kids these days. A lot of people have heard of conductive sewing, using a nylon conductive thread to stitch on components. And these are a couple of our Lego compatible components that also work very, very well with sewing. But we also like to use our conductive tape, our paper circuits kits too. There we go. To do the exact same kind of project that we would do here, but with conductive tape on fabric, eliminating a lot of that work and just making it fun and easy. We just posted a project of making an ugly holiday sweater using just felt, an old sweater, a sweatshirt, and some conductive tape and LEDs. Like $5 worth of materials, 20 to 30 minutes worth of work. And it's just something fun. But clearly no one's going to holiday parties, but we figured it'd be fun to show something off. And by the way, too, as I keep mentioning all that fun stuff, you can find all of our fun resources that we constantly post at all these fun links. Just our name, Brown Dog Gadgets. I'm not usually in control of all the fun overlays, so it's kind of fun to click on everything. But a lot of our paper crafts also go to a bit larger area. One of the things I like to show off is this is a little paper craft room, but using vibrating motors to make paper circuits activities that move or shake or change. Something for, say, an older kid, a middle school or high school student to make, along with the lesson plans we have. So again, trying to make something that's engaging for them and trying to find what gets their interest so they can build that confidence, do the work themselves, and learn something about simple circuits, because circuits aren't magic. They're pretty easy when it comes down to it. You just have to get your hands a little bit sticky, not dirty, but sticky these days, because it's conductive tape. Additionally, we have some really cool bigger projects as well that we sell. We do projects on Legos. This is one of the bigger projects I had to the side here. These use the same components that we have in our sewing activities. They're just little Lego compatible components that we have. And we use our conductive tape actually to hook them together as well on a Lego surface. We have tons of activities that show this off, but essentially making a Lego circuit board usually, conductive tape on Lego, very real to life, very simple, straightforward, because who doesn't like Lego? Especially if you're a librarian or a parent, you probably have tons of Legos around you day to day. But we can do some higher-end robotics with Microbit or Arduino using our components as well in a fun Lego environment. And this is just a little, nothing fancy. This is really just a very simple wall-avoiding little robot, 2 little servos, a little distance sensor, and one of our Lego compatible boards, the battery underneath it. But being in a Lego format makes it very easy for kids to make and design things themselves. There's nothing fancy about the way we put this together. It's just Lego. But it gets them interested, gets them making things, gets them changing things, gets them designing things on their own with the tools they have at hand. I know a lot of schools that have Lego walls, which are quite the fun thing to have. We have one in our hallway for a reason, but it's fun to turn that into a circuit wall with things that light up and move that are interactive that you can do simple programming with. Microbits are great. We just had a microbit compatible component start being produced for us to hook it up with Lego, so you can use that fun microbit interface, the fun features on it to do things that interact with Lego, really limiting the hard work of the mechanics, which is always really tough for a lot of people. For me particularly, I love using Lego Technics with gears because I am horrible at designing things from scratch out of cardboard. I think the best we've designed has been a really nice paper knife switch, which is an activity we have, which conductive tape and cardboard. But this is kind of the extent of my mechanical skills around here. But I have two gentlemen in our front office here every day who do nothing but crank out fun activities and resources all the time, because we know that the importance of having a wide range of activities and materials, lesson plans, example projects for teachers as well as scout leaders or parents at home, so that you don't have to try to make something up from scratch for a new thing. I always use the analogy of cooking. Just give somebody who's never cooked before a bunch of stuff and say, make something tasty. They're going to have no reference point, no idea what to make. But if you give them a cookbook and say, hey, here are some examples of cookies, cakes, make these first and then add your own twist to it, then they start becoming a baker and start making their own things to consume. Same thing with electronics, give people a base level to start with. One thing that I don't have in front of me this morning is probably our best-selling thing ever. I'm going to show a little video clip of it. That's our waiting screen, but it's we have a little toothbrush robot that's really, really, really fun. It's a vibrating motor and a toothbrush called a Bristlebot. Those are by far our best sellers for the past 7 years. It's a very fun, high interest little activity. Here's a little video clip of one just wiggling around. It's our waiting screen from our live stream, but you'll have one. There we go. It wiggles around back and forth across the screen as people wait for our live streams to start. But those are very fun activities as well. It's just, again, high interest, simple to make, but we can also have lesson plans to go with it to teach, okay, if we modify this, what kind of engineering principles can we look at, can we have the kids explore through such a simple tool? I have a solar version of it as well called a solar bug. Again, using solar in a fun and different way and getting kids engaged and trying something new out, because people think of solar, they think of big panels on a rooftop or those garden lights out in your front yard. But there's so many other things you can do with it, and a simple project that shows, hey, we can take a little panel, a fun little paper craft activity, and a vibrating motor and make something that scurries around the table that I can decorate and show off and use for different experiments with. So we do like a really weird wide range of things. It's really fun because we can do so much. It's also really annoying because we never know, okay, which direction should we be going week to week, some of our lesson plans, but we just like making fun things, documenting them well for teachers and parents, and then helping, especially teachers and librarians, get those implemented in the classroom into a way that's useful for their students. Because unless it's useful, it's just something up on your shelf. And I hate to see people buy things that they can't use in their classroom or they spent way too much money on. But yeah, we always put up free resources. So I tell people, even if you don't like our stuff, we put out all of these free resources up on our website: directions, code, printables, lesson plans. So maybe one day you'll like us, but you can always find those things on our social media accounts and on our own website. But yeah, we've been doing this for 7 years. We're going to be hopefully doing it for another 7 years. Things have been going pretty well for us, even with COVID. But we just keep putting out interesting projects. Oh, you can buy our products on our website, browndoggadgets.com. There we go. And also on Amazon through pretty much most teaching and library catalogs these days. But we do love to do that. If nothing else, if you're a teacher out there who wants to try our tape out, our nylon conductive tape is awesome. It beats the heck out of using copper foil. It's amazing stuff. Never use copper foil. We hate copper foil so much, so we have a little graphic made up for it. No copper foil. But we'll always send a teacher or librarian a free sample to try out, because it just do so many more interesting activities with it than you can with copper foil, especially with wearables or projects on walls or simple robotics. But yeah, we do tons of fun stuff. And everybody ever has any questions, give us a phone call or an email. We're always happy to chat about the things we do and things we have upcoming.
All right. Well, that was that's awesome. And I will be honest. Oh yeah, Edward, you got a question?
I'm not in any way contradicting, but why do we hate copper foil tape so much?
That's Edward. So
No,
that's a
speak on
really
that.
good point. No, it's a good point because like 9 years ago when I was teaching in a classroom, copper foil tape was the go-to thing for paper circuits. If you look online, you'll find pretty much the majority of directions out there are referencing copper foil tape. Copper foil is great because it was available. You could find it easily. It was inexpensive. The downside is copper foil is so fragile that for students, especially students, they'll try to put down a piece of tape across a piece of paper and break it. Now, most copper foil isn't conductive on both sides and have to start over again. I once watched a child do 5 strips of tape to get one to completion. And it was so heartbreaking because they used so much tape, just so much tape, but also it's frustrating. And if students are frustrated, they get turned off from an activity. Whereas the nylon tape that we use, that we've been using in several of our different kits and activities, it's nylon. You have to cut it with a pair of scissors because even as an adult, I can't rip through this by hand, which makes it great for wearables because it's a fabric tape, makes it great for doing right angle turns or complicated things, say wiring up a dollhouse or a cardboard box to make a robot costume. But it's also conductive on both sides. So if you can just overlap 2 pieces, you have a good electrical connection, which then solves the problem of, oh no, I broke it halfway through, I have to start over again. But it's changed the entire way that we've designed our own projects up and down. Our little knife switch here would be impossible to do with copper foil because of the friction involved, the movement involved, and the bends involved. And it's only slightly more expensive than copper foil, but you use less of it and it's more useful. So it's one of those things, you don't know how good it is until you try it out. We use copper foil in our own kits for years until we started using this for something else. We're like, why are we not doing this? But it's kind of like flying first class. You get spoiled, and it's hard to go back to coach. Is the best analogy I have. Like having real chocolate versus cheap stuff. But it's really good stuff, and that's why I always like giving samples to teachers. Like, try it out. You can make a circuit on a mug for all you want. We've done that before, just at teaching conferences. Just literally put a circuit on here with an LED. Like, it's that easy to do, guys and gals. But it definitely changes the way you look at things, the way you design projects. And especially in a classroom setting, this is so much easier than trying to solder stuff, or even so much easier than trying to use copper foil because you can do flat circuits. And that's the way typically students visualize circuits from a diagram, are flat like a circuit board. So alligator clips in a classroom I'll be honest, it's horrible to troubleshoot as a teacher. Like, I don't know where things are going. There's wires all over. Tape on paper or tape literally on a desk, it's easy to trace things along, follow things, and figure out what kids are doing. But it's little things like that just that really change the way classroom activities are run, or honestly, even just the wearable thing. I like conductive sewing. We sell conductive sewing stuff, but I tell teachers, unless your kids know what they're doing with sewing, don't implement it because it's so difficult. And that's from somebody who's run Scout 4-H camps. The other 2 guys who do curriculum up here have worked at both the children's museums here in Milwaukee, and they both have conductive thread horror stories of running workshops. So instead of an hour and a half to make this cool light up bracelet, it takes 20 minutes and the kids can then spend another 10, 15 decorating, which is the point, is having a fun thing as opposed to saying they're sewing. And sewing's another skill. Again, it's just making it easier to implement, making it more accessible to kids of all ages. And quite frankly, this is just as fun because it works with minimal effort. It's the same circuit. It's basically the same parts. The cost is like 10% of what you do for the sewables. But yeah, just conductive tape's one of those weird things like, oh, it's the same. No,
it's not.
It's what, yeah, so until you start kind of jumping in. So
I am one of those teachers that you sent a roll of conductive, your maker's tape to. And yeah, it's all I use now. I was so annoyed. I did a project for the 25 days of making. A bunch of maker eds, education folks got together to do an advent calendar of making. And so I did this little origami box that lights up and everything. And I was out of your tape. And I had to do it with copper. And I swore so much trying to shoot this project. I can't tell you. I forgot how difficult it really can be. I mean, it's great if that's what you've got and that's what you have accessible. And paper circuits are wonderful. But yes, I will admit I am a convert.
It's one of those things I roll my eyes when other companies still use copper foil tape. It's an industrial thing. People use it for electromagnetic shielding in industrial purposes. We just tweaked design for our stuff a little bit. Other people have some similar stuff out there, but I roll my eyes when I see other companies still selling copper foil tape and they're expensive, really expensive paper circuits kits because it's so frustrating. And yeah, we even I think I probably sent you the 1/4-inch maker tape, the stuff I have here. When we do projects internally here in the shop, we use 1/8-inch wide tape because it's still extremely strong, and we have a little bit more space to work with on some of our more complicated, I say complicated projects. And I tell teachers, yeah, if you've got high school kids, give them 1/8-inch tape. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
You can do some more complicated things with it. And unless they're really trying, they're not going to break it. I still have to like brute force my way through it by,
but I think what you bring up is again, as a small business, and I think all of you have kind of talked about this, is the idea of taking an idea that's already out there, right? Something that was working but wasn't working as well as it could. And I'm hearing from each of you that that's really a core of what's made you successful, is that you were able to do it better. You were able to do it maybe more efficiently. You were able to serve the consumer a little bit better. You were able to find the technology you needed to be able to offer services at a higher level. So tell me a little bit about, I mean, if you were going to counsel new business owners or people that are considering starting a business, what's some advice that you might give them?
Oh, I can do this because I came from a teaching background and had no idea what I was doing. I've been running the business for 7 years now, full time. The first 3.5 years, I had no idea what I was doing. It wasn't until I kind of spent enough time learning things that I changed things. But I talk to new businesses a lot at teaching conferences. I always try to chat up the new vendors and see what they're doing. But it's knowing your audience. That's probably the biggest thing, especially in the ed tech, this kind of technology area. Know your audience and know what their needs are, because I've seen some really cool products out there and really cool things from maker companies, education startups. Like, that's an amazing idea that nobody wants. It's a very amazing thing that no one's asking for. And it's hard to get it out there. I hate to see them fail because it's some really cool stuff, but just there's no market. And knowing your audience really well before you start jumping into product development changes things. We've scrapped products entirely because we made something really cool. We thought that it'd be awesome, but it's such a small niche segment of the education population or the maker population that would want this. It's not worth doing. And we've seen people spiral into that downward spiral of spending so much time, effort, and resources trying to get something going that it's not worth it. But knowing that audience well, and for us, like, it's helped us too, because we listen to teachers a lot. We ask them, what do you think of our stuff? Like the tape aspect. We even went so far as to we had little resistor LEDs we use. Oh, this is a green LED and a green screen. Let's try something different. There we go. We use like these big LEDs because I heard from so many teachers that the small LEDs, they got little tiny 3mm ones, they were boring, and they're paying just as much as the big 10mm ones, the gumdrop sized ones, but also that they were having lots of questions. Why is one lighting up but the other one's not in a parallel circuit? Well, your average 4th grade teacher doesn't realize you need a resistor in there. So listening to them, we built in resistors in the head of all of our LEDs. So it was never a problem. It was never, we wouldn't even mention in our packaging, but they're in there. If you test them, they're there. And now every LED lights up equally. You don't have a blue lighting up but not a red. Or actually the other way around, red but not the blue.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah. And that's little things. So we have people who've gone and bought their own supplies, like, hey, it's not working for me. Like, well, that's because you're using somebody else's stuff. But listening to our customers and then modifying our things to meet those needs has helped us. And we're a really consumable company. We sell things and hopefully people come back multiple times. But getting that repeat customer business every year from teachers, libraries, and scouts, and even home users. But knowing your audience and knowing what they want and listening to them is great. We all can't be an Apple and make a product that no one knew they needed, and an iPod. But we just said listening to what your customers are asking for, and then working to meet those needs is huge.
All right,
especially technology.
Edward or Mandy. I mean, what advice would you give? Edward.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I was going to say, no, get out of the building, talk to people that could be your potential customer, and be open to hearing, no, they're not interested in your product, or they don't think you need another 3D printer. But also, we have our product developed, but one of the things that we learned was people don't like blue painter's tape on their bed. So we added a magnetic removable bed,
which I have to order.
Yeah. So, I think for us, we're able to listen to our customers, meet their needs, and with a reasonable cost, be able to improve our product. But also being able to pivot is really, really important as well. If you're noticing that one market, ideally we want it to be in schools and libraries. We're realizing now takes a long time. Sales cycles take a while, and obviously COVID hit, so budgets are cut and things are limited. So being able to kind of pivot to a different audience or a different niche, and keep your mind open to a group of people that you might not have thought about for your product that can use it and could find it useful. I thought for us is also important.
Yeah, the pivot, especially 2020 is the year of the pivot. I mean, let's face it. Edward.
Yeah, I would say that the way to tie all those together for me, how I've been, because they're absolutely right. Those are the keys. Is utilizing the internet for all it's worth. Fail hard, fail often. Those are things I live by currently, and to see the availability of sharing so that you can get other people's perspective and or input, to see the availability of educational materials. One of the things I've been sort of really surprised by and thrilled by in this the year of the pivot is how many people in my business, and I'm seeing it in most businesses, to be honest with you, is how many people have just taken up sharing free information. People in my industry are holding Zoom meetings and describing their business and their job, and sharing the what we're all freelance. Many of us are freelancers, so in the back of our minds, we're all sort of competitors.
Right.
But in this moment, we've all come to this place where we're sharing as much as we can and learning from each other as much as we can. And I think that is, as if you can hold that concept of the availability of audience and participants and consultants who and attach that to know your audience, and attach that to get outside and experience. All of those things are key to me being a successful business person, for sure.
Yeah. I remember once I was I'm sorry. Go ahead. Oh, you're muted. Can't hear you.
Of course, I put myself on mute for a reason. Going off what Everett says, I totally agree. It's knowing that failure is okay, and you're going to fail frequently. It's going to happen a lot. I always joke, every year I try to do a couple new trade shows. There's teaching conferences and education events all over the country constantly. We try a couple new ones and realize that of those, we're probably going to fail. Think it's not going to be bad. But maybe 1 out of 4 we'll put on the list of doing then the year afterwards. But even with new products, just knowing that things are going to fail every now and then, and it's okay. And then also admitting that sometimes this is a failure and moving on. But that whole failure aspect, I see that just demoralizing people, and it is a little demoralizing to everybody. But just knowing it's going to happen and being okay with that, because I always look at big entrepreneurs and how many companies they start or invest in, or new products they create, and just how many of them are horrible, just don't go anywhere. And we forget about those. We forget about Henry Ford starting up like 3 other car companies before he got Ford Industries going. But I mean, he kept failing, but he kept trying the next thing. But yeah, it's just always failure's okay. Failure's just a learning experience every time. So
I know you've all come from other industries and came into launching your business. What was that like? What kind of a transition was that like? Why do that? Why decide to go from a career that you have and take the chance on either freelancing or starting a business? What inspired you to do it? Take the leap.
For me, it was availability of opportunity. It was most of the time, if I've pivoted or adjusted what I'm doing, it is based on the idea that I don't want to be miserable in what I do. And I'm fortunate to be, like I said, by focusing on being receptive to new technology, that has allowed me to do that. And every time, there was a time where we were all waiting for computers to catch up with our minds. And we are in a place right now where I don't need a new machine every few years to catch up with my objectives. That's a new scenario. I know that, for instance, I wanted a newer machine because I wanted to do layers in Photoshop.
Hmm.
That's not a thing anymore. The hardware has now so far surpassed the software in capability. It's a whole new ball game, and exploiting that and making sure that I'm doing what I love is the objective.
That's great. Mandy, it looks like you were going to say something too.
So I think I was coughing a little bit, but yeah, but no, and I agree exactly. Edward is finding that passion, something that excites you, brings you joy, fulfills you, and taking those chances. You know, I wasn't a comfortable because I was a teacher. I had a comfortable job. I worked from home. Everyone thought I had it made. But I still had in the back of my mind that there was something else I wanted to do. And, I was fortunate enough to meet Joe and have that opportunity and to take that leap of faith and say, you know what, this is something that I can believe in and do it. And I think going with your gut, you'll know when something's right and when something's not right. And just if you have that opportunity, being able to, and you can afford to take the chance, I would definitely say, take the chance, find something that fulfills you, brings you happiness and joy.
Yeah.
So for me, my joke is that I was teaching at a Catholic school here in Milwaukee. And so for me, I was already used to making so little money that starting my own business wasn't that much of a risk. And people laugh, but I'm like, I was in a position where I either needed to find another job to pay rent and pay off my student loan. That master's degree was so useful. So doing this on the side was a way to help me pay rent, and then it kind of ballooned on me. But for me, it really was the excitement of being my own boss. I'm not an early morning person as well, but I do like trying new things out, meeting new people, and working with teachers way more than I enjoyed being up at 7 a.m, being in charge of a bunch of angsty middle school kids, which we've all been there. But it's the excitement of doing something different and new and challenging in different ways. I see a lot of entrepreneurs there. They seem to be broken into people who like a good challenge and like the excitement of that. And for a lot of them, the money is just, if they are successful, the money is a nice side thing. But they're in there for the challenge and the excitement of doing something unique and also being their own boss. Some people hate having people telling them what to do. So being your own boss is also kind of nice as well. But yeah, it's definitely a nice change for me.
It's funny.
But it has to have the right personality for things too. That's the thing. You're not a good person. If you're not the right personality for being your own boss, being an entrepreneur, it makes things really difficult.
This is true. It's funny because I left a Catholic school. I was a middle school STEM teacher, and I left the Catholic school to start my own business. So, and then went back to the Catholic school like 5 years later because they really needed someone to open their new makerspace. I was like, oh, okay. No. So we've kind of wound a little bit of an education theme through today. And so I guess we have just a couple minutes left, but I want to ask you all if you could, tell the students of the future, the technology and STEM and design students of the future, something that they should be just paying attention to right now, something that they should be focused on, or even just like one good piece of advice, what would you tell them? Mandy?
I think that I would say that they're in a wonderful position because they're going to be able to create their own job. I think we're in a point in with technology and with job opportunities that, there's so many opportunities out there with technology. I have a 20-year-old and a 17-year-old, and say I kind of the same thing. Like, what can you do, that you can integrate technology in it and make your own job. You don't have to be do something traditional. There's so many opportunities, and you have a skill or something that you really love, like coding or, developing software, or even like graphic design, websites, and everyone has a website, everyone has social media, everyone, so being able to use those strengths to find that job that you love, you have to do it. There's so much out there.
That's great advice. That's great. Edward?
Yeah. Follow your path. There is one for you, and you'll find it. Follow your path and once you've committed to a path, even if you change your mind a little bit further down the road, once you've committed to a path, find the people who are already on that path, which has become easier and easier as the internet keeps expanding, and find out what they have to offer. There are so many learning opportunities to be had from people who are already on the path, that never stop learning, and the internet is endless. So in fact, you could be on that path and never stop learning. So that's what I would say.
I love that. I love the idea of just never stopping. There is no end to learning. I'm a big fan of that idea. All right, Joshua, do you have anything you want to share?
Well, Edward took my advice, which is always try new things. The more skills you can pick up, even just a passing knowledge of a skill, can someday come in handy for you later on. I spent years writing a very cliche travel blog when I was living overseas, and editing videos and stuff. And all these little things I learned with just minor photo manipulation, media content creation, all that silly stuff for my horrible blog, ended up being really, really helpful when I started my business. Like, oh, I already know how to do basic video editing. I already know how to do basic photo editing. I know how to put a blog together. Even my first website for the store was like, oh, this isn't that tough. I already know most of what I'm doing here. And it gives you nice base knowledge. So acquiring as many skills or many bits of information is super helpful. And even nothing else, you at least have a spot to start from when dealing with people you're working with. If you know a little bit about video editing, it helps the conversation when you're talking to a video editor. It just really makes you a more knowledgeable, well-rounded individual. And as Edward said, there's so many free resources out there. Even when we set up our live streaming setup here, first thing we did was went to YouTube and watched other YouTubers explain how to set up a live streaming setup. We looked at so many blog posts about it, and now we get people asking us, you guys have really good live streaming. How are you doing that? I'm like, well, here are the blog posts we read and the stuff we're using. Don't take our word for it. We're just regurgitating information we learned from other people, but the information's out there, and learn and try things out and find things that interest you, and then go a little bit further with those. So yeah, the problem is, I think these days for kids is there's so much stuff out there. There's so many things you can do, especially in the technology field. It's what do you focus on? But try a little bit of everything. It never hurts. You may find something new you like, or a skill that comes in handy later.
I can definitely say that paid off for me. My first job in college was the night shift backing up the servers onto magnetic tape, magnetic tape. And it was a really boring job. So they had all these computers and books on coding HTML. And so my first business was a web design business, and that got me through college. So you never know when a skill is going to be useful, right? Well, thank you everyone for being part of this today. I really, really appreciate your time. I really appreciate all of what you shared. I appreciate all of your businesses very, very much. And I feel like I need to get all of you to come on in and do programs for us and educate our patrons more on the kind of cool stuff that you're doing. Maybe we can help more people start their own businesses by using and learning from you. Not using you, learning from you. Anyway, thank you. If you would like to say goodbye, please do, and we'll finish this up.
Thank you, Sandy. That was great, and kudos to you for putting this program together. And I know you feel like there are tech issues, but it's been going great. I appreciate it.
Thanks. We had a rough start, but we worked out. And here's the thing: now I know what not to do next time. So when we do this again next year, we'll have it even better.
Yes, thanks for having me. It's been great, and yeah, it was wonderful. And you always learn from those. You know, it always has to start. You have to start somewhere. So
yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks for having us on. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with people out there, a different audience than usual. And Sandy, if you want some more conductive tape, just ask. I'm not kidding. If you want some more tape, just ask. We have so much.
I will absolutely be taking you up on that, because I have more projects I need to get up on Make Projects. So I'll be bugging you.
Please do.
Thank you, everybody, very much.